Today on Bookmas, I'm holding Inspirational Journeys Awakening the Soul by Ramona Crabtree-Falkner. This is a kind of book that invites you to slow down a little bit, to breathe a little deeper, and look at your own life and think deeper about a more honest and meaningful lens.
Mm-hmm.
Ramona here shares real life experiences and reflections and moments and insights that gently guide the reader back into self-awareness and more authenticity and bigger journey we are all here to live. So if you've ever felt disconnected from yourself, which very often we do in these days, if you've ever felt overwhelmed in life, is there a time when you haven't felt overwhelmed in life? Or if you have been quietly aware that there is something deeper that's calling you, this conversation is going to feel like a very warm cup of tea for your soul. Today, I have Ramona here with me, and we are talking about her book, Inspirational Journeys Awakening the Soul. Ramona, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here with me today.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be here.
Your book feels like an invitation. It feels
Mm,
like you're taking the reader by the hand and you're saying, come with me. Let's look at life a little differently.
yeah,
Let's pay attention to the moments that shaped us, or let's return to who we really are. So I
yeah.
want to start at the very beginning. I always
Mm,
find that books like this are rarely written from a casual place. They usually come from either a season of life or a moment of truth, a change, a question that arose at some time, or something the author could no longer ignore. So when you look back at the time when this book began forming inside your mind, what was happening in your life? Was there a specific experience, an awakening? What nudged the
I
book?
I mean, I think I have always, since I've been doing this work, been cultivating this eye of the witness perspective and really inviting the philosophies of yoga to play a role in my everyday life, not just when I'm on the mat, right? And
Mm,
in truth, that's what the practice of yoga is really about. It's not
yeah.
about just the movement. It is about
Mm,
how am I walking this in my life, right?
mm,
And as a highly emotional and sensitive human being,
mhm,
uh, it was really hard for me to journey in life outside of my victimhood, outside of my sadness, outside of the programming that I ultimately was raised on.
mhm,
And yoga was the pathway that gave me the opportunity to see that all the things that were happening weren't necessarily against me. They were for
mm,
me, right?
mhm, mhm,
And so I feel like the book is it's a combination of things. One, I love traveling. I love
mm,
to explore. I love to have moments of inspiration, but also travel really truly does create a opportunity to be really working with your tools in life. And
absolutely.
so and so I feel like I had always known that expressing what I've learned was something I wanted to do. I
Mm,
didn't really know it was going to come through the lens of how travel woke me up
mm,
spiritually and how it allowed me to take the lessons that I had been learning through my practices of yoga
mhm,
into a much deeper experience. And as you know, because you read
mhm.
the opening chapter wasn't about travel at all.
Yes.
It was about a traumatic event that ultimately, when I look back on that time in my life, in my early 20s, end of college, could have been the end, but it wasn't.
Mm,
And so
mm,
it felt like when I was inspired to incorporate that into my story,
mm,
it felt like it was an important piece of the puzzle of understanding the spiritual journey
mm.
because the spiritual journey is not weaved easily.
That's true. That's true. It comes from different experiences that you have gone through, felt it, and then putting it into
Mhm.
words and stories. Your book, Ramona, carries a lot of stories, but it feels like it has a deeper purpose underneath the stories. So, how would you describe the deeper intention behind the book beyond
Well,
sharing experiences, and
yeah.
what do you want this book to open up like to the reader?
What, in all honesty, my hope is that it opens up awareness, that
Hmm.
we can walk with a lens of curiosity
Hmm.
and allow ourselves to see things as opportunities instead of maybe challenges or something that's taking us out, right?
Hmm.
I think that I had a really pretty significant victim archetype that I was living under for many years
Hmm.
of my life. I can remember as a child being very sensitive and really being shut down to
Hmm.
not feel, right? Like that
Oh.
wasn't an acceptable thing to have happen. It was like, go to your room. We don't want to hear it, and,
Oh. Hmm.
and so I wasn't really taught how to understand the emotional experience I was having. Um, and so what that did is it really cultivated that victim archetype where I felt like everything was always happening to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when we look at the chakra system, which I work through quite a bit with my teachings and my coaching and the work that I do, uh, the the root chakra is associated with the victim archetype, but
Yes.
the opposite end of that um, spectrum, the opposite end of that archetype, the mirror of that archetype is the mother. It is
Hmm.
the nurturer. It is the one that holds the child and says, "It's okay.
Hmm.
We can do hard things. We can work through hard things. We can
Hmm.
live and still grow and don't have to feel like we're stuck." Because that root
Hmm.
chakra has to do with earth, right? So that earth
Grounding.
energy
Yes.
can really, when we're in that lower frequency archetype, can really make you feel like you're stuck in the mud
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
instead of how am I going to take this and root down into it and grow something more
Hmm.
magical out of it. And so I feel like what my stories do, and I don't think all of the stories are challenges. I think that they're all, they're all different kinds of stories I tell, but I love um, storytelling. I think that that is something that as human beings, we're actually, organized to do, or we're meant to tell stories, and we do. Like all these conversations we have are different stories. It's just
They
how are
are.
we communicating them, right? How are
Hmm.
we sharing our version of
Hmm.
experience? And
Hmm.
so I feel like the stories were meant to be a kind of a snapshot of this is something that happened.
Hmm.
This is how I dealt with it.
Hmm.
And then the back end of each chapter is the philosophical lesson
Hmm.
that was
Yes.
learned out of it. And my hope is for the readers that they can maybe see themselves in it, because again, as storytellers, it's not that I want to say my story is your story. I want to say
Hmm.
here's my story. Here's
Hmm.
what I gained out of it.
Hmm.
How would you like to work with that same energy? How would
Oh,
you like to work
yes.
with that same lesson?
Yes. The stories are
Here's
just
some
a
tools.
doorway. Yes. The stories, I think, are just a doorway. The reader
Mm-hmm,
is not only reading about your journey, they start thinking about their journey and they
mm-hmm,
start asking, like, where have I been asleep all my life? And where have I
mm-hmm,
been ignoring my truth? Where have I been running on autopilot? That's a powerful thing for a book to do.
mm-hmm,
Now, many readers are navigating their own path of self-discovery, right? That's why they probably chanced upon your book. Now, some may feel that they are in a season of change, and some might
mm-hmm.
be lost right now. Some
Mm-hmm.
people might feel they're living a life that looks like disconnected somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, when people read this book, what do you hope readers would feel or realize as they move through the journeys?
I want them to, or I hope, let me rephrase that. I hope for them
Hmm.
that they can see themselves
Hmm.
in the story,
Hmm.
and it may illuminate
Hmm.
something that is sparking that awakening, right? So if we go
Hmm.
back just to the title,
Hmm.
Journeys Awakening the Soul, if one of my stories or one of the tools that I share opens up awareness for somebody, then
Oh,
that
yes.
is like my number one, like that's my number one
Mission
goal in life
accomplished.
is
Hmm.
how can I help someone develop the eye of the witness
Hmm.
and allow awareness to rise, because without awareness, no other step in any coaching formula
Yeah.
can be applied. And
Awareness and
I know
clarity.
I'm making a
Yes.
very direct statement on that, but it is something I
100%. Yes.
truly, truly believe. Without
Mm-hmm.
awareness,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you're coaching with. I don't care what they're teaching you. If you don't start with where am I now and what am I doing that's contributing to why this is not working,
Mm-hmm.
how can you change anything?
That is true. Sometimes we don't need the author to give us all the answers. Sometimes I think we need something that helps us listen to ourselves again. And your stories are doing just that.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, your book weaves together lots of real life experiences with the
Mm-hmm.
reflection. Reflection is what makes the book, what makes the reader stop and think by, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you see life experiences shaping personal growth and awareness?
Well, you have a choice, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think everything's a choice. We
Hmm.
have yin and yang. We have, there's always this duality, right?
Hmm.
So I can choose to remain ignorant and let the veil continue to be laid over my eyes, or I
Hmm.
can lift the veil and look and see what's on the other side of it and decide, do I want to go there or do I want to stay here?
Hmm.
Because ultimately, that's the choice. Do I want
Hmm.
to continue doing the same things that I've always done that
Hmm.
have kept me in the positions that I'm in?
Hmm.
Or am I willing to take a risk and do something different?
That's such a soulful way of looking at life. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Your book says, what is this showing me? What has this experience awakened inside me? If Ramona feels this way about a certain thing, how would I feel about it? What part of myself did I meet because of this particular thing happening? That can
Mm-hmm.
change lives like very drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the title
Mm-hmm.
because it's a beautiful one, Awakening the Soul.
Mm-hmm.
That phrase to me sounds big, almost mystical, but I love that you brought it into everyday life. So
Mm.
what does awakening the soul mean to you in a practical everyday sense?
Well, my company name is Authentic Life Journey for a reason.
Hmm.
And it's because these kinds of journeys that I talk about in this book ultimately helped me find my authentic self.
Hmm.
Um, the soul awakening is remembering
Hmm.
truth.
Hmm.
Um, so, we're born and we
Hmm.
remember everything, right? And then we're raised to be taught. And this is where the veil, so the illusions, is what we talk
Hmm.
about in yoga and Ayurvedic practice, right? So the illusion
Hmm.
uh, is the masks. So this is our
Yeah.
eyes are getting covered over by illusions
Hmm.
of this 3D world that we live in.
Hmm.
Um, Awakening the soul is, am I willing to look beyond the veil? Am I willing to peek and see truth?
Hmm.
And those truths are not something that can be taught outside of oneself.
Hmm.
They are surfaced from within oneself and
Hmm.
then chosen how to move it forward in life. So the
Wow.
soul awakening is the remembering. It is the
Hmm.
returning to your authentic inner knowing, your inner compass.
Hmm.
Um, I know that when I started traveling, that was part of my inner compass saying, this is something you genuinely need to be doing
Hmm.
because it is part of how you experience this 3D world. And up to the point before I was doing a lot of traveling,
Hmm.
I was living in a belief that I could not travel because I could not afford, or I could not because I had a child, or I could, like, I can put
Hmm.
any phrase behind that victim
Hmm.
mentality
Hmm.
that kept me stuck in
Hmm.
the illusion that
Hmm.
I cannot have.
Wow. Hmm.
Taking the risks and the leaps and choosing to say yes to opportunities to explore
Hmm.
allowed my authentic self to start guiding the path forward. So the journey, the inspirational journeys were the travel experiences that I had,
Hmm.
the moments of joy or challenge within those experiences
Hmm.
ultimately were the parts that awakened
Hmm.
the soul.
That makes the idea of awakening feel more reachable.
Mhm,
You took a pause at the right moments, at every given chance, reflected, and then moved forward with more clarity.
mhm.
A lot of people don't do that. They feel
Right,
disconnected from themselves. They're busy,
right.
overwhelmed, pulled in 100 directions, and just trying to keep up with life every single day. Somewhere
Hmm.
along the way, the inner voice that we all seem to have becomes very quiet. So my
Right, yeah.
question to you is, how can your readers begin to feel reconnected with their authentic selves if they are feeling like that now, right now?
Well, again, I think that it starts with that awareness. Like, am I aware that I am living in a way that doesn't feel like it's my authentic life journey?
Hmm.
Um, am I living out someone else's idea of what my
Hmm.
life should be? I mean, I know for me, it was, no, you're going to college.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
really didn't want to go to college. I ended up going
Hmm.
to college.
Hmm.
I don't regret that choice. I made the choice. I processed through it. But what I will tell you is when we read the opening chapter, that was
Hmm.
my senior year of college.
Yeah. Hmm.
So here was an experience that I really was like, no, I wanted to go to massage therapy school. Like I knew at 19 where I wanted to go with my life. And because of the life circumstances that I was raised under,
Hmm.
and the naivety of being a young person and still living under I have to do what so and such says,
Hmm.
I made choices that weren't mine.
Right.
Now, they were still my choice. I still chose to do it,
Hmm.
but that victim,
Hmm.
Ramona,
Hmm.
didn't think she had a choice.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the transition, again, that I'm hoping can be seen
Hmm.
through my words and my
Hmm.
experiences is that when we stop saying yes to our no,
Hmm.
then our life shifts into something more abundant and aligned.
Nice. Stop saying yes to things you have been saying no. And also the other way around, probably. Stop
Mm-hmm,
saying no to the things you should be saying yes.
mm-hmm,
Your book kind of gives us that feeling.
yeah.
It just says, start where you are, pay attention. Your life is speaking.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
When you
And
were,
and if we look at it from the pure spiritual scope, right?
mm, mm,
Everything in life is a spiritual experience. And a lot
mm,
of what I've seen working with clients is they kind of separate the two. It's like, here's my
yeah,
spiritual
yeah,
world and
yeah,
here's my
yeah,
real world. No, we're
absolutely.
actually one,
Mm,
and
mm,
if we can start seeing our life experiences as spirit speaking to us and however you believe spirit to be. Like, again, I don't put a specific statement on that because it's not for me to decide for anyone. But my
mm,
hope is that my book is open to any belief structure and you can
mm,
see it that way. So, what I want to
mm,
say when I'm saying divine energy, however you see that to be, right?
100%. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
speaking to me through the trees, through numbers, through songs that I hear on the radio, through
Mm,
conversations that I have with people. There are moments that I've had conversations with people and they literally give me the answer that I've been
mm.
asking the question to in my prayers. That's God speaking
That's
to you,
immense. That's
friends.
immense. Yes. That's another soul or the ultimate
Mhm.
soul or whatever you might call it.
Right.
Looking back over your own life and writing these experiences, I can only imagine certain patterns start to become clear.
Hmm.
So, what patterns or themes did you notice in your own journey that other people might even recognize in their own lives as well?
Um, I would say emotional responses are
Hmm.
something that are patterns for me.
Hmm.
So funny enough, the book ends with a trip that I took to Greece, which was kind of like this big stepping fully into my belief that I can, right?
Hmm.
Like this
Hmm.
was a choice that I'd been putting off for my entire life to go to
Hmm.
Europe. And so that choice to take that trip
Hmm.
really, really inspired me to want to share that experience with other women. And
Hmm.
so what I'll share with you right now is this. I just returned from leading my first international retreat. And wow, do I have a lot of processing I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
because there was a lot of emotional things that got stirred up that
Mm-hmm.
had this been 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be beating myself up over having those emotional responses. And
Yep.
instead,
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving myself grace and trusting that whatever occurred in that container
Mm-hmm.
occurred because I need to give attention to whatever it is that I'm processing through. And a lot of the things that I'm processing through have nothing to do with anybody that was there, have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with the location. It has
Mm-hmm.
everything to do with my own spiritual growth and expansion.
The internalization. Mm.
And so it was a rough reentry because I was really struggling with some of the things that occurred that I wasn't pleased with myself in. And
Mm.
so having the opportunity to sit with myself over the last few weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and especially this coming week where I'm away from home and I have a little uh, work space time, I am in another one of these reflections that I've written about in this book. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the pattern of emotional responses inside of any part of my life
Mm.
is a pattern that I teach on, that the emotions are actually just your messengers of something that needs to be given attention. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's probably the most common pattern across all the stories in my book, as well as just in general in my life, like accepting that being a highly emotional person, being an empath, being a highly sensitive person. If we look at my intuition, it's
Mm-hmm.
empath, um, feeling, and touch. So those are my three top. And boy, do I feel them. And my nervous system gets
Yes.
dysregulated very easily.
Mm.
And so when that happens, then I have
Mm.
to really sit with myself
Mm.
in that compassionate, kind, curious space
Mm.
and
Now,
not
your
in the
readers,
judgmental space.
correct, yes. Your readers may not have had the exact experience that you did,
Mm-hmm,
but they know that feeling, and that's why they're
mm-hmm,
reading your book. They know that
mm-hmm,
turning point, they know that quiet ache that happens in the moment of clarity. And
mm-hmm,
I think that's where connections happen between the reader and the writer.
mm,
One thing, Ramona, I love about reflective books is that they shift the lens for people.
mm,
The facts of our life might not change at that exact moment, but we percolate.
mm,
When we see them, the way we see them can change, I think. And sometimes that's where healing starts. So,
mm-hmm.
what's one mindset shift from the book that could immediately support somebody that are seeing their life differently right now?
Yeah, be curious.
Be curious,
I
yes.
mean, I think that's it. Like, be curious with what's happening instead of fixed.
Mm,
Have flexibility. Allow
mm,
things to show up as they're showing up, and trust that they're there for a reason. I mean,
mm,
one of my favorite stories in the book is about being stuck on a highway in Arizona for
mm, mm,
like 8 hours, I think it was,
mm,
and having to really practice patience
mm, mm, mm.
and just trust that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, because had I been X number of cars ahead, maybe I would have been in that accident that was keeping me on that highway. Like that's the kind of mindset shift that I think is important, is when you're experiencing something,
Mm,
it doesn't have to be, why is this happening to me? Why am I stuck?
mm,
Getting into those lower frequency, instead it can be more, what is the gift of this moment?
mm. When we begin to see our lives through a more compassionate, more awakened sense, from an honest lens, I think we can
Mhm.
stop fighting every chapter and start learning from it. When you
Agreed.
imagine the person who needs to read this book right now, who do you see? Is it the person going through a change? Person who's
Yeah, I
spiritually
mean, I
tired?
think I think that it's there's multiple layers there. I think it's definitely for someone that has big emotional responses that maybe doesn't know how to navigate them. I
Mm,
think it's also for someone that maybe feels stuck,
yeah. Mm,
someone that is feeling lost.
mm,
I think all of those apply here because that was me. I mean, I was all of those things.
Mm,
And, when we have big events happen or even micro events that build up to feel like, a large event. And because that's the nervous system, doesn't decide to dysregulate because of a traumatic event. It can be small traumatic moments over and over and
mm,
over again that build to a nervous system that is just dysregulated. And so I think that it is definitely for someone that is just looking to see the world from a different perspective.
yes. They need this book to help them at least pause long enough to recognize themselves again.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
if this reader, the one who's reading right now, takes away just one message from Inspirational Journeys, what would that message be?
I think it would be that we don't have to stay where we're at. I think
Mm,
that we can evolve, we can transform, we can see things differently.
mm,
And it all comes back to choosing to develop that eye of awareness and
mm.
witnessing. Hmm.
This is a beautiful place to bring the conversation together. Ramona, what I appreciate about your book is that it does not scream at the reader. It's very gentle. It does not demand that become somebody else overnight. Instead, it invites people inwards. It invites people to reflect on the moments that have been shaping them gradually
Hmm.
all this while, the truths that they might have forgotten, and a life that might be calling them forward. I think that makes Inspirational Journeys such a meaningful read. It's
Hmm.
something that I would read again and again. It becomes a companion for the reader's journey as well.
Hmm.
Before we close, I want to ask you another question. For
Yeah.
someone watching this today, this interview, this chat conversation today, um, if they are feeling like they are standing at the edge of their own awakening, but they are not sure, they're scared, overwhelmed, what would you say to them?
Um, you have the answers inside of you, so even if it feels scary, do it anyway.
Mm. Be
Hmm.
scared, but do it anyway.
Hmm.
Do what your soul asks you to do.
Hmm.
Go within and find out your answers.
Yeah.
That's the lesson that I'm taking from your book. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining me on Bookmas and for sharing the heart behind Inspirational Journeys of Awakening the Soul. And to everyone watching, you guys, I also have recorded Bookmas verdict on Ramona's book. The link is in the description, connected here. In that video, I share my personal take, what stood out to me, and who I think the book will actually speak to. Look at the link in the description. In this conversation, I hope we have touched something in you. So please like the video in support of Ramona and all her work. It helps more readers discover these beautiful author conversations. Subscribe to the channel because we have more Bookmas interviews coming, because we have more authors, more stories, more books coming your way. Ramona, 100 times thanks to you for being a part of our group. Until the next time, pay attention to your journey. Sometimes the moment that awakens you is already happening. You just have to notice it.
Hmm. Thank you.